So we're at Wenngarn slot. This building as it stands was something from the 1600s. It does date back many years prior to that and is extremely well documented in history. But the building as it stands is how it looked in the 1650s. So here we are on the castle terrace. This was the most sensitive part of the parkland renovations. This picture here was taken October 2013 and this is May 2015. Explain here what we see on the terraces. As you saw in the picture a little while back, the terraces were completely overgrown, and when we found them, we stripped them clean, and we've introduced these large clipped ligustrum to give some form, along with the capinus. And then along the bottom terrace, mainly on the bottom terrace, of course you see the white tulips now, but there's also nearly 1,000 white delphinium. That are in their second year now, so this year they should get some really strong flowers on them. We also have white peony and the white old-fashioned roses. What we see here on the terraces, two influences, or main influences, are of course from my gardens in England, the big public gardens, and one particular favourite is a garden called Sissinghurst, which is a white garden, and so I took that, and all the flowers on the terrace are white. This season now we see the tulips. Next to come will be the white peony, which we can see coming up quite healthily now. After the peony, we have mainly along the bottom, we've planted over 1,000 white delphinium. So this is layering throughout the summer season and will give us colour right through to the end of the summer. So on the terraces here I've planted around 500 old-fashioned Rugosa roses. My first inspiration would have been the one Blanc de Quebec. I love these roses. Some people think, oh, it's just we say in Swedish like a Nippon rose, or it's just a bit common. But they're fantastic plants. They're easy. They're repeat flowering, fabulous fragrance, and quite importantly for here, they're white. Again, they're going to be giving us fragrance and flowers for a good few months over the summer. I've also I include these as another reason to visit. So what we're looking at here, what we call the kitchen gardens. We have two kitchen gardens. One we've started this time last year, and we have the other one which we're going to be starting in the next couple of weeks. In the first kitchen garden, I think it's important to say that when we say inherited this ground, all that was in there was just a ditch filled with water, which was unsightly, quite dangerous really for children. But that ditch did have some relevance, and that was, and so what I've used, the ditch was running at the angle that you can see, for example, the poles and the grass pathways, and so I've respected the lines that the original designer of the grounds had wished for, but now the lines are a bit more productful, and the main focus here, we have hops, or the humler, growing in the middle. We have 300 poles and 300 hops. Either side of them we have grass paths, and in between them we're planting a mixture of raspberry, rhubarb. There will also be sunflowers, purely for their ornamental value and the value for the bird life later in the year. We also have in here growing lots that locals or anyone can rent one for the year, and you can see some activity down there today, which is great to see. As we span around, you can see that we have the new kitchen garden. That one, like I said, will be sown within the next couple of weeks. There we're going to be focusing mainly on peas. We can't really grow things under the ground such as potatoes because there's too much clay here, but above ground we've had really good results last year with our trials with peas and beans and courgettes, and so that's where we focused, above ground. And in the final part of the shot here, I think you can see the orangery, which has been which will be our garden headquarters, built in the 1930s. Now it's been fully or almost fully renovated, finished in about 2 weeks' time, and a really fabulous space to be centered for the garden. So this plant here is a Wisteria. The variety is important for this zone, which is zone 3-4 near Uppsala. This variety is Wisteria frutescens, and this particular one is called Amethyst Falls. Other Wisteria, such as Wisteria sinensis, is a little bit not so reliable for this very cold regions. But this one, absolutely no problem, and it's a lovely plant to use. And doesn't always have to be grown up the side of a building. We could even plant this as a freestanding shrub, and, cut in the right way. It can also look rather interesting. Okay, so here we're standing at what we call the Dammstugan, which is actually a pizzeria. This building here was burnt down a few years back and has been carefully rebuilt, restored in the traditional manner. Now it's a pizzeria, a very, very fine pizzeria where they only use fresh ingredients and quite healthy food. Now, my part here is the garden, and one thing that I did need to create was a physical boundary for the licensing laws. And the first thing I came to was making some sort of production area for the pizzeria. So these are apple boxes from Kivik. In them we have some traditional herbs for pizzeria, that's thyme and bay we can use in some of the sauces. Other boxes here are sown with beetroot. The wigwams made from the hazel are going to be for beans, and later on in the next few weeks we'll be planting out our courgettes, basil, spinach, rockets, and you name it. So there will be some ornament, but it's all going to be put onto the pizzas here. So this area here was 1 year ago just the back of a building, just some dirt on the ground and nothing at all. Now I call it, this is what I call the courtyard. Planted, very lucky to be able to choose some quite large specimens of Amalankia, Gladitsia, Prunus yedoensis we see, magnolias, there's flowering Cornus cusa, also a quince called a tree called Sidonia. When I first came here, one of the first things I saw were many damaged and decaying trees being taken down. Because they'd come to the end of their life. In the parkland we needed to introduce more trees, and I felt we needed to introduce much more colour and another reason to visit. And then I started thinking about a collection, and it's always a bit of a dream to create a parkland with a collection of plants. This zone, we say limited, but the Prunus, so the Schussberg collection, is something that we can have a reasonable number of. So far I've collected around 80 and ongoing. In Britain, or in England rather, the national collection is around 290, so I've got a long way to go. Standing by this one here, Prunus accolade, you see this in the centre of Stockholm en masse, and it's a really good reliable tree. But throughout the parkland there's many to come and see, loads of different shapes and sizes. We have a very old one, Prunus taihaku, which is in flower now, so beginning of May. So our Prunus collection here flowers, it starts flowering beginning of April and goes right through till well towards the end of May, depending on how much rain we get. Hopefully not so much.